Okay, chapter 6 is emergency situations and challenging road conditions. So I have talked a bit about that before. There's ideal road conditions, which means it's sunny, it's daylight, and the pavement is dry. And there's no other emergencies like construction or collision, anything like that. So those are like perfect conditions is ideal. Anything other than that, like weather, construction, emergency, there was a collision, an accident, something like that, then that's what we're going to talk about today and how to handle those situations. So if your vehicle ever breaks down, it's important to keep your vehicle working properly, of course. You want to try to keep up your maintenance with it, which meaning regular oil changes, checking things, getting it inspected every once in a while, and not ignoring weird sounds. I used to do that. I'd hear something and then I would just turn up the radio louder and try to ignore it. That's not the way to go because it could actually lead to more problems down the road. So you want to make sure that your vehicle is always properly getting maintained and in working order as much as possible. Because it can be dangerous if you don't take regular good maintenance of your vehicle. You could get yourself into a situation where you have a blowout, like on your tire. If your tire, it's called a blowout, where your tire would pop and you get a flat, and that can be really dangerous if you're traveling at high speeds, like on the highway. So it can be dangerous for you and passengers. Emergency. If your vehicle does break down, if that happens while you're driving, change lanes safely and move off to that emergency lane. Remember the end of the day yesterday, I talked about some people, we most commonly know that on the highway, there's your main road highway, and then there's a little section of pavement before the grass or the ditch. That's usually called the shoulder, is the term, the common term, but what it's actually called is the emergency lane. So if you see it on your test and they're talking about the emergency lane, that's what it is. It's that shoulder piece on a highway. Urban roads here in the city, there isn't an emergency lane. There's usually just your lane. But if you are in an emergency situation in the city and you don't have a lane to pull over to, you just pull over to the far right. So you change lanes, try to get off the road if you can, but if not, move as far over as you can. Or try to get to the nearest exit of the highway. Like it's always safer to pull off of a highway because of the high speeds, but if you can't avoid that, then you can pull off, turn on your hazard lights. So what are hazard lights? It'll be when you turn on your hazard lights, there's a symbol, it's a triangle, and I should have an image of it, but there's a triangle in your car, and that means your hazard lights. If you push that, then your back and front, your lights will flash, like the turning lights. They all go on and they continue to flash. That'll signal to other drivers that you are in a distressful situation, like emergency, you're a stopped vehicle, or even if you're moving really slowly. Say you're trying to get to the next exit, but your vehicle's only moving at, say, 20 kilometers an hour. You turn on those flashing lights and the other drivers will know to move over and give you some room or to adjust their speed. So it's signaling, it turns on all your signal lights. Also, if you're pulled over, you can raise up your hood because then that signals to other drivers as well that you're in emergency. So do not try to do any roadside repairs on a crowded highway. So I've seen this before on highways where people are trying to change their tire. You're not actually, technically, you are not supposed to do that. You are supposed to call a tow truck or a mechanic. You're supposed to move that vehicle off of the road. You're not allowed to be doing maintenance on your car, especially like changing a tire. So think of this, if you are trying to change a tire on a really, really busy highway and it's just you and you pull off one of those tires and you're putting on your donut or your spare tire, and say that other tire rolls off onto the highway, that can be extremely dangerous for other drivers, right? And for yourself. The other thing too is if you're trying to do maintenance on your car on a busy highway, your attention is not on what's going on the highway. You're focused on your vehicle. And if you're getting underneath your vehicle and other drivers, unfortunately, what if a driver were to hit your parked vehicle and you're underneath it, that could be absolutely fatal. So really, really be mindful that if you're in this situation, you're putting yourself at risk if you do any of those maintenance, and you're not allowed to be doing maintenance on a car. Also too, like if it's something with your oil, or your gas tank or something like that. And if you have fluids leaking out of your car, you can be in a situation that's unsafe for you to be there, but it could also be leaking fluids onto the road itself. So the other tip too is to kind of move far away from your vehicle if you can. You want to be far enough away from your car and visible enough to other drivers. So you don't want to necessarily be hanging out in the car. You want to be away from your vehicle. Just it depends on the situation that you're in, but the other drivers need to see where you are. And if you're in a situation like this girl here in the picture, she's got her hood up and she's on the far corner of her car, which is good. She's not by the highway. However, other vehicles won't necessarily see her standing there. So it's better for her to move a little bit farther away from the car and make her phone call.